Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Mind believes the body can achieve. That's how this successful lawyer defines her journey. Neha Nagpal is a practicing lawyer at the Supreme Court who represented various corporate houses in the 2G scam case and was an active part of the team which fought for decriminalization of homosexuality. Her journey of weight loss, fighting PCOD and diabetes, which she embarked on a year ago, has been life-changing. Today, she's lost over 24 kgs, is no longer diabetic, does not suffer from PCOD and rosacea. She is a champion in every way, and she is the reason today us, Indians, can love whoever we want without fear. Neha Nagpal, please join us on stage. As you all know, there's one more special someone joining us today. Sonakshi Sinha is the daughter of Shatrughan Sinha. Now, you can only imagine how difficult it is to break out of a shadow of such a legendary actor, but she did it. Today, Shatrughan Sinha is the proud father of Sonakshi Sinha, all thanks to her principles, hard work and perseverance. She is the epitome of self-acceptance and body positivity, and one of the first actors in India to stand up against body shaming and openly promoting the idea of unique journeys. I quote her from her latest open letter to the people. You don't have to be a certain size to feel good about yourself. Remember that. The reading on your weighing scale doesn't matter. What the media says doesn't matter. What people think does not matter. I know it's almost impossible to not compare yourself to others, but we are all and we all excel at different paces. Follow your own journey to greatness. And today she joins us to bear it all and talk about her journey and inspire us. Sonakshi Sinha, ladies.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. So nice to see all of you here.
A very warm welcome to all you lovely ladies and you dapper men here with us this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining the gorgeous Sonakshi Sinha and me over this chat on Transformation Talks. Over the last 1 year, I've often heard how my transformation journey has been amazing, and that really led me to question what is a transformation. The dictionary meaning is actually quite simple and literal. It's an apparent change in form, nature, and appearance. But I think the transformation, the physical manifestation of it, is stage 2. Stage 1 of a transformation is more internal. It's more about a lifestyle change, a mindset change, eating habit change. To be honest, it's more holistic. It's literally mind, body, and soul. And on that note, I'm going to flesh the weight out of Sonakshi Sinha's transformation journey. So, thank you for being here, Sonakshi.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me here.
Our pleasure.
Spread the good
Yes,
stuff.
of course. I have to compliment you that you've killed it. Like how you were an inspiration, but you're a next level inspiration for I think all of us here.
Thank you, but I'd just like to say I haven't killed it. My trainer here, Namrata Purohit, has killed me, which is why I'm looking the way I'm looking. But it's all worth it, baby. I love you, Nams. Thank you.
There you get your testimonial. So Sonakshi, much has been spoken about your weight loss. Much has been spoken about how you transformed yourself. But would you tell us how much weight did you lose pre-dabang and what were you at your plumpest best?
Well, pre-dabang was honestly a big chunk. I was at my peak, I was 95 kilos. I was always an overweight child, teenager. But I was very, very active. I used to play sports. I was very confident of who I was and just very confident of myself. So I felt like at that point in time, I never let the weight affect me, and which is why I was happy being the way I was, roly-poly, for like the longest time until I actually hit an age where I was 18, 19, and I happened to join the gym because that's what everybody was doing at that point of time. So I jumped onto the bandwagon, and I started running on the treadmill, and I couldn't run for more than 30 seconds. I was huffing and puffing, and I was like, oh my God, I am 19 years old. I cannot be like this. So that is where the first switch happened, that I have to work on myself. I have to be able to run more than 30 seconds without, you know, spilling my guts out. But yeah, so that's how it started for me. A lot of people used to keep telling me, I used to get body shamed, I used to get bullied for being fat, but I never took it like, it never bogged me down. I would always fight back. I was very like,
Yeah,
you know how I was. I was a full like gundi even then. So I used to always fight back, and I used to, in rebellion, I used to eat more and be like, this is how I am, take it or leave it. Until I actually realized that it's not good for me. Some people were saying it to make fun of me. Some people were saying it for my betterment, which is like my family and my friends. So I took that in the right spirit, and I think that's when it all started internally. I lost like about 30 kilos before I started shooting for my first film.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to lose the 30?
Slow and steady. It takes, you know, everybody takes their own sweet time. I could have done it in 3 months. I could have lost 30 kilos, but I know it would have just been so temporary. It would not have stayed off, and I would have probably ended up hurting myself in the process, done it in a very unhealthy way. But it took me 2.5 years.
Which is amazing. I think slow and steady is the best way to do it.
Yeah, the best way to do it, because it then just kind of stays off.
It's a sustainable loss. But I'm sure, like I did too, I hit a lot of plateaus. I hit that frustration point where you didn't eat for 3 days and you weighed yourself on the skate and your weight was still up. Did you go through that, and what kept you going during that?
No, honestly, the problem with me is that I really, really love food. So,
like
if
most
I
of
have
us.
I mean, if there's anything I can give up, it's everything else but my food, which is where I figured, like now, when I recently started getting a lot more into fitness, taking care of myself, I realized that I have to find a balance. There's anything that you do in moderation is great. You know, that's the best thing to do. Everything in moderation. You cannot starve yourself. You cannot cut out things and just not eat them, because there will be a day when you give up and just put your hands up and stuff your face. So do everything in moderation, which is good. Right now, I take a lot more care of what I eat. I try to eat healthy. I follow a diet which suits me and my body, along with a great workout. I've started doing Pilates with Namrata, and that really, really helped me. And honestly, it's trial and error. I think everybody just needs to kind of figure that combination of what works for you, because everybody is different. We're built differently. You know, we have different likes, dislikes, we have different temperaments, we have different fitness levels. You have to find what works for you.
What rocks your boat. Tell me, Sonakshi, you spoke about, you know, people telling you you need to lose weight, about being body shamed. I know you were always a very tough kid even while growing up. But some way did it bother you, and how did you deal with that? Like, did you sort of, you know, you said that you ate a lot more in vengeance, but during your process of losing the weight, I'm sure you must have had to go through a process where people still told you were overweight, where you still gave into
after I lost the 30 kilos, they were telling me, oh, I'm like, please, talk to the hand. Like, I've worked really hard to get where I am. You cannot take that away from me.
So did you still emotionally eat? Because, you know, we eat our emotions, and that's one of the biggest problems we face.
I would think so. In fact, I would still say that I'm an emotional eater. If I'm feeling a certain way, I do turn to food. But that's fine, you know. You have to understand how you are and what you're going to do, and kind of take measures to balance that out. So even if I eat something now, I know I'll work out, do that extra 30 minutes of cardio tomorrow and burn it off. So it's okay.
Sort of do a cleanse to sort of keep it off, or do you believe in doing cleanses?
No,
like
I'm not into that sort of things. First of all, if you put me on juices all day, I'll be snapping at people and, like, you know, biting everyone's head off. Like, I need food to keep my mood in check, first of all. It's so important to just be happy more than anything else. You know, I cannot stress enough on that fact. And until you're not happy from within, it's not going to show outside. And, you know, to want a transformation in yourself, I think you need to first train your mind, and then your body will follow.
I agree with you. It starts with the mind. I mean, I noticed that with myself also. I was an emotional eater. I was a stress eater. I'm a lawyer by profession, and anytime I had a bad day at work, it came out. I think I could do with some chola kulcha. I could do with this, and then you just have to start understanding your mind and you know, work around that. So what is Sonakshi Sinha's daily healthy fitness routine like? Like, you have a morning routine, you have an evening routine.
Well, I wake up and I try and do cardio on an empty stomach, which I feel it works for me. I don't like to work out after having eaten something, or like if I've eaten something, then maybe after 3 hours or something. That's when I feel empty enough to work out again. So I try and do my cardio first thing in the morning, and like I said, I just started doing Pilates, so I do that in the afternoon. This is
Wow.
on a day off when I'm not working, so I can fit it in. And if I've not done my cardio in the morning, then after Pilates, I do my cardio in the evening. So that is my workout regime.
And what's your typical diet like? What do you know? How did you reach a place that you got to know that this doesn't work for you and that works for you better? Because it's trial and error, like you said.
Trial and error. I think I just stumbled upon it. I started doing the keto diet for a while. That really worked for me. But then I read up on it, and it's not something that you can sustain. It's not something that you can, and you should not do for a long term.
Time.
So depends on my requirements. Like I'm working, and if I have a shoot or if I need to look a certain way, I'll go on it, but I'll get off it as soon. And you have to find a balance. So I'm generally on a low carb diet.
Low carb diet.
Yeah.
And high protein, basically.
Yeah. Basically.
So that therefore, you know, you
Yeah,
can...
and that really worked for me.
So, yeah,
This
so
is
you-
something that I had not. It just the thought only of like
No pasta, pizza.
leaving carbs.
Yeah.
Before this, 1 year before, the thought of leaving carbs was also like, no, I can't entertain this thought. So it was just out of the question. But honestly, when I did it, I started feeling better. I started feeling less lethargic. I used to like
more active.
More active.
Because you're on a very low carb diet now, and I feel it sort of helps your mind feel better. You can think better. You sleep better. Did you ever have to work on your sleep pattern? Because sleep plays a very important role in weight loss and just generally, you know, how you feel about yourself.
I'm not the best person to answer that question because I have very bad sleeping habits. I sleep very late. When I'm working, I wake up very early. I need my afternoon nap. I sound like a cat. But yeah, I need my afternoon naps, and that is something that I want to get in check. I don't know, I just feel like I can't sleep before 12:31 because I feel like I'm missing out on the day. I don't know what I'm going to accomplish then, but like sleeping is something that I really need to now keep under check.
So I guess it's an ongoing journey.
Yeah,
and
it is
you
an
look
ongoing journey, and I
this
know
fabulous.
I know I will eventually do it when I put my
Yeah.
mind to it, but for now I'm not the right person to answer this.
So Sonakshi Sinha on a travel, fun vacation with her friends, eaten like a glutton, come back, and what do you do? What do you do then when you see your weight is slightly on the upward side? What's your SOS go-to diet?
Get back on your routine. When I leave for a vacation, I tell myself that I'm going to have fun. I'm going to eat whatever I want to eat. I'm going to maybe work out, maybe not work out. I will have those days, and I tell myself that it's absolutely fine. Because I know when I get back, I have to get back to my routine. I have to go through the same grill. If I'm on holiday, I just want to enjoy, and that's fine. I think that if you tell yourself that, then I don't think the calories count. It's okay. You can get away with it.
I agree with you. I think it's so much about mental conditioning and, you know, knowing what your routine is. And
plus, you work hard the rest of the time, and you've not worked hard for nothing, you know, to not
To look
earn
this
one
fabulous.
vacation for yourself. Come on. It's really okay. So, honestly, it's all about loving yourself also, right? You have to go easy on yourself. You can't be too harsh on yourself, hard on yourself all the time. So, for me, what I always say is that even when you want to go to the gym, even when you want to see a change in yourself, do it for the right reasons. A lot of people go in with the attitude of, oh, I hate my body, I need to work out, I need to change it, I hate my body, that's why I'm going to join the gym. No, you love your body, you love yourself, you have one body that's going to be with you for the rest of your life. That's why you go to the gym, and that's why you take care of
it's
yourself.
interesting you say that, because to get to this place, I'm sure I didn't start at this place, and I'm sure even you didn't. But what was, so journey of transformation is more about self-discovery. What were the things that you discovered about yourself that helped you sort of just, or fall in love with yourself? Because clearly you're somebody who's very very happy with themselves, in love with themselves, and enjoying their ongoing journey. So really, what did you discover about yourself during this journey?
For me, honestly, growing up also, it was never about looks because this is not what I wanted to do in life. I never
You wanted
wanted
to be a fashion designer, I felt.
I wanted to be a fashion designer. I wanted to be a lot of things. I wanted to be a marine biologist at one point. I wanted to be an astronaut at one point. I wanted to be a tennis player at one point. So I wanted to do a lot of things, which is why looks was never in the forefront for me growing up. I mean, I was a complete tomboy. Like, my whole life revolved around like playing sports. So I used to go to school earlier. Like play football. My uniform used to be dirty. My teachers used to be like, where have you come from? I was like, I was playing downstairs, so it would just be crumpled, and also that's how I was. And I realized very early on that because it was not always about looks for me, I had so much else to be proud of, to be confident about. Like, I was good at sports, I was good at speaking, I was good at my schoolwork. So I had all these things to be confident about, if not my looks. And it's okay, I was okay with how I was. But unfortunately, I know a lot of girls are not like that. They don't have that mind space, and I would like them to have that mind space. A lot of my own friends, are influenced by the visual mediums, what they see on screen.
What was the advice that you'd give somebody, a 16, 17-year-old girl today? Because you are an inspiration, you are...
Just to not compare yourself to others. Like, everybody, like I said, I mean, everybody has their own journey, their own path. That is the one thing that can just kill you, is just comparing yourself and wanting to be like someone else. No, don't want to be like anyone, just try and be the best version of yourself.
I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more, because that's one thing I realized in the last 1 year as well, that if you really want to keep at it, you want to look good, you want to be the better version of yourself, then just, the world doesn't matter. It's the way you see yourself. I mean, after losing 25 kilos, 26 kilos, I'm still told, oh, but you could do, your arms could go, or this could go. I'm like, listen, I've worked hard. I'm enjoying myself. You figure yourself out.
It's very important to enjoy the process while you're at it. Like, I've been working out for the longest time, since even before I started acting, because, well, I had to. And it's a very, very big part of my life now. But that did not necessarily mean that I enjoyed it. I used to hate going to the gym. So I used to keep switching up my routine. I used to do yoga for a while, then, just switch to cardio, then I'd switch to functional training, then I used to do weight training. So I used to keep switching. I used to swim. So I used to keep switching it up so as to keep myself involved in it, until I actually stumbled upon Pilates, and that really worked for me, and I really started enjoying it because I started seeing the results. I think results are the biggest motivator, and that is what you should keep in mind when you want to see a change in yourself. Look at yourself and look at where you started and look at where you've come and where you can go.
That's most important. Sonakshi, for you, even though you never really, the way you looked didn't matter as you were growing up, but now a lot of how you look, a lot of how you groom yourself is a part of your life because of the profession you chose for yourself. But that's not the case for most young girls, most women out there. What would you advise them of how should they keep themselves going? How should they sort of, keep themselves motivated on their journey of wellness, on their journey of self-care?
Like I said, results are the biggest motivator. I think any woman, when she sees results showing on herself, will want to improve on that and keep at it. But honestly, I think fitness should be a way of life no matter what profession you are in. Whether you're an actor, whether you're a businessman, whether you're a housewife, whether anything, whatever it is, it should be a very, very important part of anyone's life, because you have to do that for yourself. And 24 hours in a day, I refuse to believe that somebody cannot take out at least 30 to 45 minutes for themselves, just to get any kind of workout, even a walk in.
That's amazing, Sonakshi. Your journey has seriously been inspirational. I've seen you over the years, and I'm sure a lot of other women out there see you and get inspired. And thank you so much for sharing such a, beautiful journey with all of us here.
I'm more than happy to. I hope some of you are inspired and will take up what I said a bit more seriously. And honestly, trust me, you'll be so proud of yourself more than anything else.
It does change your life.
Yeah.
It does. It is life-changing. I'd like to throw in any questions if anybody has any questions for Sonakshi.
That was really heartwarming to hear. Plainly because I understand that your kind of lifestyle requires you to be on the go and still like have the ball in your court at all times about fitness. But Sonakshi, there's something that you said that really hit a chord. You said that it's important to be happy and then do everything, right? Like most of us think that once we are successful, once we get that next promotion, once we get that project, then we will be happy. But you're saying it works the other way around. Can you explain that?
I don't know how to explain it, but I just feel that everything is about, it starts from the mind. It starts from anything that you do, anything that you face with positivity will always give you positive results. If you go in with a negative mindset, it's not going to work for you. And it's a tried and tested and applied formula. Not only me, a lot of people say it, a lot of people feel it, a lot of people do it. And I think that's what I applied even to this. You have to be happy in your head first to be able to bring about a change outwards. Yeah.
Fair point. But in today's age of social media, especially for, I think, the youngest, most impressionable audience that sees even your work over there, when you are comparing yourself, it's hard to keep that positive mind frame. How do you tackle that? Do you have a secret mantra? Do you have something you tell yourself? People talk about affirmations. Do you talk in the mirror? Do you do something weird like that?
No, and I don't do all that.
So what do you do?
I don't talk to myself in the mirror, but whatever works for you, man. I mean, everybody has their own different ways of dealing with things, different ways of dealing with themselves. If talking into a mirror works for you, please, by all means, go ahead and do it. But it's just like telling yourself, again, in my head maybe, that, you know, I don't need to compare myself to others.
I think. I mean, if you need to go see a therapist, you need to go see a healer.
Of course,
I think
yes.
That also helps.
Absolutely helps. And it's a great tool to like, for your betterment, basically, yeah.
But if we're talking about wellness and your journey is very visual, right? Like we've been seeing you physically. What's been happening for mental health for you? How do you take care of your mind?
By staying positive most of the time. I think I've always been a person who likes to see the bright side of things. Touch wood, you know, that is something that really helps me. And I try to take out, like anything that even happens if it's bad at work, I try to learn something from it. So I treat it like a journey that you know, will always teach me something. Experience is the best teacher. So even if it's bad, I'll take out that positive thing with being what I learned from it. So just having a good mind space, a positive mind space, having a support system really helps. I have wonderful family and friends around me who support me, who encourage me, who I turn to if I'm ever feeling low about anything. So that is very, very important, yeah.
So having a good support system, a positive outlook, basically good vibes is good to help
Good
you
vibes
with everything.
only.
Got it.
That's
Thank
a good
you
hashtag.
so much. I think what we're hearing a lot today,
Namita,
even
you
from
had
our
a
last discussion, was mind over matter. And I'm amazed that this is being repeated over and over again. This is a big takeaway for me. I'm sure you guys must have also had some aha moments while Sonakshi was speaking. Thank you so much for sharing that. Seriously.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
I'd like to call upon stage Prisha Kotwani and Pooja Duggal. Namrata has a question.
Oh, somebody else also has a question. Okay. Oh, one more person. Good. Now you're all woke up.
I actually want to share something about Sonakshi. So, you know, when she came into the studio a while, almost a year ago now, all she had in mind was getting fit. And I think it's never been about getting thin or getting, you know, only about the way she looks. It's always been about being healthy, about getting fit and doing it the right way. And I think that's what's helped her come a long way. And even in terms of what you said, she's always had a positive attitude. It's always been about, I'll get better, I can get there. It didn't matter what people said, it didn't matter, because there's always someone going to point a finger at you. No matter what you do, whether you get fit, they'll find something else to talk about, but there's always someone saying something. But I think she's just one of the most positive people out there, and very hardworking. So no matter, like, have you done your cardio today?
No, ma'am.
Are you going to go home and do it?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I mean. But she will fit it in, and she is very hardworking, and she never misses her workout, ever.
Wow.
Like, sometimes you actually have to
She has to send me home.
Yeah.
Like, she has to she's like, go home now, please. What are you doing
I
here?
actually have to do this to her. So sometimes I actually have to go like, Sonakshi, enough, leave. You know?
Next one coming in.
And sometimes I tell her, rest, like rest. It's okay. No, but very hardworking, and kudos to you and your journey.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm kind of jealous of this bromance, man. I don't know who's a fan of who. But awesome. We have another question, I believe.
Hi, Sonakshi.
Hi.
First of all, big fan of yours.
Thank
I
you.
love your work.
Thank you. What's your name?
My name is Adil Haryanawala. So my question is, do you think sports play a very important role in transformation? Can they replace a gym?
Absolutely. I think, like I said, whatever works for you, sports are a great way to keep fit. In fact, if I could, I would only play a sport, honestly. I used to enjoy playing volleyball, throw ball, basketball. I used to swim. So these are things that really, really can keep you fit. And honestly, if I ate healthier while growing up, because I played so many sports, I would have been much, much, much fitter. But my eating habits were very bad. So when you combine a sport with good eating habits, I think you're sorted. Yeah.
Because I play a lot of football, and
I
that
used to play
really
football
keeps me
also. I used to be
fit.
goalkeeper because it involved the least amount of running. And I would cover the entire goal. so that's why I was goalkeeper.
Do we have another question?
Can I come up and meet you? Quick.
Good afternoon, Sonakshi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. I have a 12-year-old daughter. Can you tell me about your childhood? How are you focused? I mean, you have a growth. You're mature enough as a fitness freak now. But tell me about the age when you first have the connection with sports.
I actually
The first connection.
Yeah, I started playing sports at a very, very young age, actually. I used to really enjoy it.
Any state, nationals, district?
I went up to, I think, district level volleyball.
Oh.
Yeah, so I used to really enjoy it, and I started playing in around that same age, 10, 11, 12 years old, and I continued playing till college. So I really enjoyed it, which is why I kept doing it. You have to understand your child and what she likes, what she doesn't like. Like if I had not liked playing sports and my parents kept forcing me to join a sport and do something, I would have just developed a real dislike for it, aversion towards it.
Right.
So unless your daughter is not naturally inclined to do that, I would not suggest, pushing her too hard. Like, of course, some amount of activity is really, really good. You should start from a young age, whether it is even something as simple as just a track team or running, a lighter sport, table tennis. For example. I mean, it's not light in any way, but of course, table tennis is not as hectic as volleyball or basketball.
So you were you pushed to do the sports, or it was a
No,
natural instinct?
It was
like
a natural
rhythm?
instinct for me. I really enjoyed. I'm athletic by nature, so
Yeah.
that is why I wanted to play sports.
Glad to know that. I'm into fitness from last 30 years, and my both the daughters, age 7 and 12. I mean, I don't push them. They naturally
But that's
connect.
great. I feel like if you're so much into fitness and they watch you,
Yeah.
I think it'll come to them. Like I'm
Yeah,
sure
it comes
that they'll
naturally
be-
to
yeah,
them. So that only I'm asking you. I
Yeah.
mean, you were pushed because a lot
I'm
of kids.
sure they'll be
because
inspired by you.
Now the kids which are growing, they are hooked up to a lot of gadgets, TV, mobiles, and everything. So you need to push them. Go to an open area.
I mean,
Go
you need
for
to
a track.
encourage them to get out more and play.
Yeah.
Outdoor games are definitely a must. I think we've lost that, in this generation.
Yeah.
So that I think needs to be encouraged.
Yeah. So
for sure.
we have grown for a maturity level to understand sports, athletic fitness, but the younger generation is lacking that. So when we push them to that side, they just get, stress, they get more frustrated about doing things, and because the physical things is not coming out, they're just using their mental brains for that. So that one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Claudia. Yeah.
Sonakshi, I'm sorry. May I? I feel like this is quite a unique gathering. I mean, as compared to all the other PR events, I'm sure that you go for.
It is. It's so personal, and like I feel like I'm connecting and talking to each and every one of you sitting here. So that's great.
Yeah, and we're feeling so intimately close to you right now. But the entire agenda of Health Hunt to have this event today is to explain, or at least show to all of us, that wellness at every single stage is possible. Yeah. What do you feel about this initiative?
Absolutely. It's never too late to start. That is something that I will say. Whether you're 6 years old or 60 years old or older, you're the only one who can stop yourself from achieving what you want. So I'm just going to say it's never too late to start.
And if we don't talk about wellness in 2018, when will we talk about it? Why do you think it's important today?
It was important, honestly, yesterday and the day before that. I think we should have introduced this conversation a long time ago. Not just promoting physical fitness, mental fitness as well. And I'm really glad what you guys are doing. What you guys are doing is so good, having these wonderful people come up on your panels and talk. And I'm so happy to be here and share and interact with all of you. So I think it's great. I'm glad the conversation has started, and I hope that it continues to happen,
Absolutely. I think we're not looking for a happy ending to this, but a new beginning. Absolutely. And we're all part of this equally. So thank you
already
so much
positive
yeah, look at my
thoughts.
face.
Yeah.
It's glowing, guys. I think it's infectious. I don't know if you guys are smiling as wide as me, but I can't help it. Maybe it's just being this close to her. But seriously, thank you so much for being here. We'd like to call Pooja and Prisha now to give a small token of our appreciation and a little thank you from Uber Eats to Sonakshi and Neha.
so many people come here and talk about their journeys and talk about wellness, talk about mental and physical health, and you know, so many people have shown interest and turned up for the event, which is amazing. And I really had a good time sharing my journey. You know, when you work hard on yourself, I think it's only good to share the wealth.
Absolutely. And thank you so much really for being a part of it. I think it inspires. Every day they see your inspiration daily, you know, through your work. But when it's so personalized and so customized, through a platform, it comes out in such a unique, customized manner. So really from our hearts, we're happy that you did this for the audiences. Thank you. Thank you.
Sacrifice, I think जितनी ज़रूरत होती है उतना ही करना पड़ता है. आई थिंक हर किसी के प्रेफरेंसेस अलग अलग होते हैं. मुझे खाने से बहुत लगाव है, तो उस पर मैंने थोड़ा ज़्यादा ध्यान दिया. एंड ऑफ कोर्स सैक्रिफाइस तो पूरी तरह से कुछ भी नहीं करना चाहिए, क्योंकि एक लाइफ होती है. आप अच्छे से जियो उसको, खुश रहो, काम करो. और अगर आप अंदर से खुश नहीं हो तो काम भी ठीक से नहीं होगा. सो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू बी हैप्पी एंड हेल्दी. I walked in, I came here, now I'm going out.
What is your fitness mantra? What is your fitness mantra?
My fitness mantra is, I think consistency is key. Anything that you find, you should find something that you really love to do and be consistent with it. Last question. बहुत एक्साइटेड हूँ. शूटिंग अभी नहीं वो हो गया अपने आप, बट शूटिंग जा रही है ना. वेरी वेरी एक्साइटेड. सो या जब फिल्म रिलीज होगी आप देख लेना. मैं उनको कह दूँगी थैंक यू. ओके, थैंक यू गाइस.
Thank you, Sonakshi.
थैंक यू.
Bye.
सुंदर और जिस प्रकार से निमंत्रण है, सभी को इनविटेशन है, बहुत अच्छी पॉजिटिव एनर्जीज है. कॉन्शियस माइंड जो है उनका गेट टुगेदर हुआ है और बड़े अच्छे प्रश्न उत्तर हुए हैं. क्वेश्चन आंसर जो हैं वो बड़े सच्चे हैं. तो वो सच में जानना चाहते हैं कि किस प्रकार से योगा को लाइफ में पार्ट बनाया जाए, क्योंकि शरीर बहुत ख़राब हो रहा है. तो कैसे उसको काम करते करते वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस बनाया जाए. तो ऐसा सेशन रहा.
आज की यंग जनरेशन के बारे में बात करूँ तो काफ़ी योगा से पिछड़ रही है, हम ये बोल सकते हैं, जिम की ओर जा रही है, जिससे कुछ नुकसान हो रहा है.
नहीं, दोनों ही बातें एक्चुअली. एक वर्ग हो सकता है जो शायद नहीं समझ पा रहा हो, लेकिन हमारे पास जो आज हम बैठे थे जब हमने सेशन लिया तो लगभग 80% यूथ ही उसमें पार्टिसिपेट कर रहा है. तो हमारे लिए तो एक्सपीरियंस इस तरह से है कि यूथ इन्वॉल्व हो रहा है योगा में, लेकिन चाहता है कि थोड़ी इनोवेशन हो. वही जो एक मेथडोलॉजी है उसको थोड़ा सा उनके अनुरूप चेंज किया जाए. एग्जाम्पल जैसे अभी किसी ने मुझसे बात की, वो कॉर्पोरेट कंपनी में काम करता है रात को, तो वो सुबह नहीं कर सकता योगा. तो उसके लिए क्या सिस्टम हो, क्योंकि उसको शरीर की कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, स्टमक की कुछ प्रॉब्लम है. तो उनके लिए बस एक छोटा सा एक फॉर्मूला क्रैक करना होता है योगा से. 3 आसन, 2 प्राणायाम बना के, एंड एक बार अगर वो फॉर्मूला अच्छी तरह उनको दे दिया जाए, दे विल प्रैक्टिस योगा.
कहीं ना कहीं आपको ये नहीं लगता कि जो गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स है, कॉलेजेस है, वहाँ पे योगा को कंपलसरी कर देना चाहिए, 1 घंटे की सेशन दे दें?
बिल्कुल.
वीकली में तो फिर डेली का, तो इससे कितना फ़ायदा होगा, क्योंकि स्टूडेंट्स जब स्टार्टिंग में ग्रो होगा तो काफ़ी फ़ायदा होना चाहिए.
मुझे लगता है कि जिस प्रकार से हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री ने एक रेवोल्यूशन किया योगा में, तो ये चीज़ महाराष्ट्र में भी होनी ज़रूरी है और थोड़ा समय और लगेगा, बट मुझे लगता है कि ऐसा होगा जरूर।
फाइनली क्या मैसेज देना चाहेंगे आप लोगों को और यंग जनरेशन
कि योगा बहुत कमाल की एक शक्ति है, इसको आप डिवाइन साइंस बोलते हैं। थोड़ा सा और ध्यान दीजिए इसकी तरफ और कोशिश करिए कि योगा आपके जीवन का एक अभिन्न अंग बन जाए। तो यही मेरा संदेश है सभी के लिए। प्रणाम। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
I'm not going to say so much because it's not about him today, because it's always about him. It's always about him.
You were late.
And yes, I'm late yet again, but I tried my best to be early. Sorry, everyone. Oh, hi, Auntie. I think Sachana and I have we've come a long way, and we've seen each other grow as from children to being a little bit more responsible.
From Jugni Ji to Baby Doll.
Before Jugni, I think.
Wow, this is clearly going to be extremely interesting. But before we begin, I'd like to thank Engineer.ai for powering this session, led by serial entrepreneur Sachin Bendurkar, who has kindly agreed to moderate and entertain us today. Engineer.ai was created with the belief that everyone should be able to build their ideas without needing to code, and any idea brought to life without wastage of time, money, or resources. Engineer.ai is a human-assisted AI that empowers everyone to build and operate bespoke software. Builder is an AI-powered software assembly line that breaks projects into small building blocks of reusable features that are customized by human talent from around the world, delivering high-quality, bespoke software at a fraction of the price and time of traditional development. Wow.
Thank you.
All right, guys, over to you.
So, Kanika, hi.
Hi.
So I thought we would start a little bit, you're obviously a mother of three. Talk to us a little bit, I'm sure everyone here that's a parent is really interested to see how you balance time, and then we'll get to the more interesting questions.
You know what, to be honest, I'm still struggling and I'm still trying and I'm still learning to balance my time for myself, for my work, for my children, for a life. And I think I'm doing well, but I could do better, but it's a constant learning. It's a process. Really.
And so you have...
And I'm always told off about it by you, so I'm so happy and I feel proud. I think I've achieved something that you've invited me here to speak about wellness, because that's a big thing, Sachin.
I think it's a big deal, and I think you've got three beautiful kids. I have three beautiful, one beautiful nephew, two beautiful nieces. How do you think about wellness when it comes to them? What are the things that when you're halfway across the world or you're traveling for shows, what are the things that you're doing as a parent that sort of keeps you connected to their well-being?
I grew up in Lucknow, and honestly speaking, living in a huge joint family system, which is how most of Indian families are even today. We grew up with breakfast, lunch, tea, dinner, and it was, I really did not learn so much about what was good for me, what was not good for me. Moving to London, again, I used to be a little chubby when I was about 17 and I moved. And I remember that I used to see everyone around really going to the gym and being skinny and having a chiseled face, and I wanted to have that. And I remember that I went over to another extreme of just starving myself and thinking that, well, that's the way I'm going to feel better and look better. And that whole idea of looking better is just a very flawed sort of idea. Wellness in my, and of course coming a long way from there, gradually learning about mind and body and how it all works and what is it that we need to do. And it was a huge thing altogether. But I'm teaching my children everything that I know today and everything. I mean, I was a very young mother. I had three babies before I was 25. So of course that helped. Having a best friend who was a complete fitness freak in terms of mind and body, and my best friend Annabelle Treon, who spoke earlier today. And I think I learned my whole journey of wellness started because of her. So and now I'm trying to talk about it and be a little bit of a wannabe, but I think it's really worked. I've learned a lot, and I'm trying to bring up my children and tell them everything I've learned. But it seems like in today's day and age, there's so much more out there, there's so much more available, and I'm learning from them too.
So I think that's super powerful, right? And when you think about you had your last child, you weren't a megastar then, you then said, I'm now going to be a megastar. I remember that conversation very clearly in a cab with Annabelle outside Louis Vuitton in Paris.
Yeah, and I had a lot of people turn around. I was quite chubby, and everybody was like, "Haan, ye auntie ji pop star banne chahiye."
So talk to me about the transformation from Auntie G to diva.
Yeah, 25. Thanks.
I'm just quoting you what you quote yourself. Talk to me about that transformation. And for anyone here that's looking to do that, right? There's people here that are first-time parents that have just had kids. There must be husbands that are telling their wives, you should go sing and be in Bollywood. There must be wives that are telling their husbands, I wish I was in Bollywood. What is the advice you have for people that feel like having children is the end of life?
Not at all. I think it's the best thing I did, and the best thing that's happened to me is my children. And yes, I think I was fortunate that I had them when I was younger, because now they are my friends and we're growing up together. And they empower, you know, me. And I mean, there's a lot to learn from it. But the one advice, and it's not really one, but there's so much to say. Yes, of course, when I had those 3 little babies, and I was way bigger than I am, and I didn't really have a job. I was a housewife. And I don't think I was happy, because there was no achievement. And I think the most important thing in life is to do something constructive with yourself. You don't have to be a Bollywood star. It could be anything. And I remember the moment I had a goal, I started working towards that goal. And I think that goal, to achieve that goal, the number one step was to have a good mind and body balance. You know, it was my voice, and the only way, the 2 things that were important for me was to sing really well, to breathe a lot, to be able to perform on stage. The second most important thing was the way I look. I can't be 26, 27 years old and look another way. And I remember you telling me then, listen, you go on stage and I think you get tired, so you better get your act together. This is like over 10 years ago, Sachin. And yeah, that's something I think of every day. That yes, I have to train myself. I have to be, because when you're on stage and you're performing for 90 minutes or, you know, over 2 hours sometimes, you're on and on, there's no break, and you're entertaining and you're in that vibe. It cannot go down, it's got to go up. You know, and there's a lot of strength and there's a lot of emotional energy that goes into it. It's not an easy job.
So I think that's a really nice segue, I guess, from family. And, you know, from whatever little I know about Hollywood, and it seems to be a slightly insane world. You know, it's insanely hectic. You're in and out. You're the only person I know who travels more than I do. So how do you, in that sort of intense moment of building a career, traveling the world, dealing with all the issues that it comes with, how do you find time to keep both mental and physical wellness in mind?
I do wake up many mornings and I feel like, I'm feeling really down, I'm emotionally not okay, something didn't work out for me yesterday, or why is it happening to me, or I'm like any other girl or any other person in the world who wakes up sometimes and feels that way. And then I'll literally pick up my phone and message my yoga teacher or my trainer and be like, you know what, I don't want to train today. But no, that is when I need to get up and be like, no matter what happens, I have to look after my health. And I know that that day when I do my yoga and my breathing and my training, I feel $1 million. Again, I don't feel down. So I think all of us here and all of us in the world go through these emotions. And I think if there is self-discipline, you sleep on time, you tell yourself it's your life. You can make your life the way you want it to be. And yeah, that's what I try to do every morning.
So, you know, and I think that's
I talk to myself, and believe me, there are a lot of struggles, and I think there are a lot of struggles for everybody.
And I think struggles is a really important point, because, you know, we see this in business. You are effectively in business. How do you, especially in that role as a celebrity, as a star, how do you stay on the straight and narrow? Because we've all heard the horror stories of Hollywood stars overdosing, you know, crack cocaine, drinking out. It's so easy when you're in that network. How do you keep yourself balanced and focused and straight and saying, that's not the path that I'm going to take? Like, what are the thoughts that go through your mind?
You know, when I grew up in a very, I won't exactly say conservative, but sort of conservative background in Lucknow. Then I was married when I was 18, so I went to my own, I was in a little shed. Till I moved to Mumbai, I would say probably 3 years ago. And everything I've seen in my life independently is when I moved to Bombay, which was at a very later stage, and I think I was extremely naive towards many things. I'd never seen anyone do a lot of substance. I never used to drink, but I have to tell you that I was introduced to having a glass of wine or having a hot toddy before I went on stage, just because I was told that it sort of calms you down. And you know, I come from a home where my parents, you know, they're vegetarians and they don't drink and smoking's out of question. So it was two extremes, and of course, I mean, working till 2, 3, 4 in the morning every day, or you're invited somewhere and you're like, you must go to these parties because you have to network, because you have to meet people. How will you know anybody? I did not know anybody in Bombay. And I have to tell you, the first maybe year and a half, I did that. So I used to be there staring at people in these parties while they're doing everything else. And I'm like, but yeah, I don't drink. I'll hold a glass of something. And I know that a year and a half, 2 years later, I was so tired and I started feeling low, I started feeling depressed. I think Bombay showed me a lot. Then it was my decision. I decided that actually, no, this is not that important. You have to be true to your art, and what's more important for me is not to know 100,000 people. What's more important to me is sleeping a lot, meditating, looking after my voice because I have to perform. So you have to talk to yourself. That's the point I'm coming to. I mean, there's a lot of choices that, you know, you have to make a choice. There's a lot in front of you, you know. So yeah, I haven't been taken over by the whole Mumbai madness yet. I keep a very balanced sort of life. Initially it was very difficult, but now I'm well on track.
I think that leads into another question. So, you know, as a person who is known so well, one of the things that you probably do is lend your voice to a conversation, lend your voice to a topic, or lend your voice to a brand. How do you go through sort of a value alignment that that brand is something you, or that topic, or you know, something like this is something you want to identify with, versus someone's going to give you $200,000 and you're just like, because you see that a lot, right? When stars are starting up, it's like you grab all the money on the table because you don't know if it's going to be there tomorrow. So how do you go through that process?
Honestly, and I'm going to be very blunt and very honest to myself and to you and everybody here, I do take up projects sometimes just for the money that's thrown in front of you, because you need that money to grow your brand. You need that money to sort of have a life, and you need that money to pay the school fees of the babies that you have. But saying that, of course there are limitations and boundaries that everybody has, and I don't judge anybody for what they do and how they achieve whatever they achieve. I do what I think is okay according to my morals and values and the way what I've grown up with. But yes, there are times where you do stuff. I mean, you're singing a song which, you know, like right now, I'll give you an example. I have a very big producer who's sent me a song, and they just take it for granted that you must sing this song. It's on one of the biggest companies that would take it out, etc., etc. But the song is so bad, and it's been maybe 2 weeks, and I can't say no, but I'm just not available. And I know that eventually I may have to sing it, even though I don't want to sing it. But now I feel I'm at a place where I've started putting my foot down, I've started taking fewer projects, and working harder towards the little that I do, you know. I came to Bombay as a baby doll singer, while not many people know that I grew up in Lucknow and I studied classical for almost 12 years. I did proper Visharad, and I can read, write and teach in classical vocal, you know, certified. From there to just being able to sing Baby Doll was not fair on me, you know. So then I started a lot more. I did a song in NH10 which was, nobody even can imagine that that's by me. That became quite a hit. It was a sad breaking up sort of vibe. From there, I got a song in Urta Punjab, which I had to act. It was the soundtrack of the movie called Dada Dasse. It was two different worlds, which did really well for me. And now I think over time, started getting projects which is real playback, you know, because the industry and the musical industry is completely changed now. People pick up music, they'll pick up music from you if you bring something.
I'm a good singer.
I mean, you can just say a little bit of Derito.
But so following on from that, I guess in any career and in business, it's somewhat sheltered because unless it comes in the newspaper, no one hears about the disappointments. I feel like in the life of a celebrity, disappointment is part and parcel of the job. So how do you both build a thick skin to not get affected? And then how do you deal when you do get affected so that you stay sane?
Everybody gets affected. Every single one. And they'll show that I get affected. And I'll show that I'm so cool that nothing affects me. But the truth is that every single person gets affected. And the fact that I'm here today and I recognize that, you know, and I'm working towards it, and I think that's the only way. It's about you, it's about teaching yourself and sitting with yourself. And also I think maybe I'm very lucky. I remember when you've seen me through a lot of struggles and highs and lows. And I remember that in my lows, you were right there and I had somebody like yourself, you know, God sends people into people's lives, and I had somebody like you pushing me that, no, you can do it, you know, you can be the next star. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But eventually you start believing in yourself when things really happen.
Right, and I think that's an important point. So for everyone that's trying to do something different, and we have tens of millions of people that are through their cameras watching live, so what would be your three, I would say both mental wellness, general life advice, and maybe map it back to say a couple of stories in your own life because it makes it more real, and then we'll open the questions up to the audience. Three things that you think that people would walk away that you could use a story to illustrate why it's so important. You know, whether it's being persistent, whether it's being humble, or whatever those three key messages are. But imagine the three things you could say to tens of millions of people that tomorrow morning will change their life. What would those three be?
Well, the first one would be, of course, you've got to be very, very dedicated to anything that you do. And I remember, even though I was a housewife, not allowed to exactly sing and pursue my music and my dreams, I had a little, I used to live in northwest London, and I had a little garage where I created a small, with all the money that I used to get every month, I created a small system, and I had my headphones, and I remember I used to have these karaoke tracks that I used to download and also buy from South Urban and play, and my mic and so nobody else could hear anything, but I could hear, and I used to practice for hours. And I remember that there were songs that I used to cry on, but I was singing, I never stopped singing, because I believe that there was, I mean, I always wanted to be a playback singer and be in Bollywood singing, never wanted to be like an actress. May change, things may change now, but...
That's a scoop.
But no, I was dedicated. I was working towards my dream. I just didn't have like some dream that, arey, mujhe koi bahut bada star ban jana hai. No. I remember you sitting down with me maybe 8 years ago, and you're like, okay, wait, let me help you. And I think on
we wrote it on a paper.
We wrote on the paper. You made a mind map for me. So this is the man who made the mind map for me 8 years ago. And I was like, what is a mind map, Sachin? I mean, what are you going on about? And I remember it went down to which magazine cover I should be on, or it went down to which country which country do I aspire to be, sort of have maximum streamings in. I mean, it went down to it. So guys, everybody listening to me, make a mind map.
I agree with that one. Okay, and the third one?
Third point, I think that if a girl like me, with all the circumstances, and I come from a middle class family from Lucknow, and I feel like if a girl like me can grow up and live a dream and sing for Shah Rukh Khan and Deepika Padukone and many more, I think if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's not impossible. It's difficult, but it's not impossible. Got to sort of.
This is the first time I would ever call Kanika humble Kanika, but with humble Kanika on stage, who would like to ask some questions? Annabelle.
Go easy on me.
You've done incredibly well in your career. We're all very proud of you and very proud of the path that you've taken to get to where you are. What next?
It's just started. I think it's taken me 4 years in Bollywood to understand this career. It's completely new to me. Was completely new to me. I did not know anybody, so it's taken me time to really understand. I remember my first show was with. My song Baby Doll came out in Feb. My first ever show was in Abu Dhabi for the IPL opening with Shah Rukh. And I didn't know how to sing on stage. I was so shy, I was so scared of the world, I was suffering, I was going through my own personal trauma. And there I was, apparently a star, entertaining people. And I can't even tell you, it took me a whole year. I used to initially mime because I could sing really well, but I did not have the strength and the confidence to be on stage and actually sing live, you know. So having that journey that started there to being the person I am today, and I performed in front of thousands and thousands of people, and I want to like jump in the crowd and like hug them and sing with them. So of course, I've come a long way, I've learned a lot. The next step of my life is going to be planned by him tomorrow. I'm joking, please.
It's on your mind, ma'am. Anyone else?
I think it's going to be a lot of international collaborations and a lot of meaningful music that I want to do. So now I've been doing what everybody wants.
Question.
Hi, my name is Payal Shah from Vector Media. My question is how you spoke about earlier that sometimes some projects come to you which you are not convinced about, but eventually you might end up doing it. So what is the mental preparation, or how do you convince yourself to go ahead with these projects and do a justifiable job? Because at the end of the day, if you've taken the job, it has to be as equally well sung as you would do something that you are believing in. So how do you prepare yourself to?
So I have done, thank you for your question, I've done projects which I was never convinced with, and they did not work for me. Even though I tried my best to make it my own and maybe tweak them a little bit and change them around, it did not work. And I was given a lot of like dirty feedback. Why are you doing that? What does it need? Which is why I'm very careful now what I take up, and I've learned how to say no. But even then, if you get work which is not something that you are excited about, I guess it's the best way is to make it your own. You know, put yourself into it as much as you can. I have a certain way of singing. I make sure that I sing my songs the way I want to sing them, and that I don't copy Alka Yagnik ji or who I used to as a child. And yeah, make them interesting. Give them a little kick.
All right, I think we are up for questions. Kanika, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Round of applause for everyone for Kanika.
Kanika, thank you so much for your honesty. I think the ability to be vulnerable to this extent is